By the time you're watching this video, Legends of the Force preview season should be in full swing, seeing previews from Asmodee Socials, FFG themselves, and then likely also creators. We've talked about this before with the starter set preview stuff that we saw Qui-Gon Jinn and Maul. We're not going to go over everything because not everything is going to be relevant. There's going to be some things that'll be interesting. There's going to be some things that are not interesting. Lots of different things. There are going to be other creators going over every single card. Be sure to check them out. But for today, what I'm going to go through is some of the cards that I thought were relatively interesting in the last couple batches of previews from the last few weeks. So, HARK, I am wilding out today. Apparently, I always forget I have this and I haven't gotten a Star Wars hat, which I will try to get before the GC, so that way at least I look okay. But today we're going to be covering 5 cards. One we've already covered, but we're going to cover it again, from previews so far in Legends of the Force and my hopes for the set moving forward. So let's get right into it. So we're going to use a resource that already exists that is very handy to be able to cover these. This may not be the process we do every time, but today we're going to be looking at these cards through SWDB. So shout out to Parker over there for all the hard work, plus the Home One Bridge crew, I believe is what they're called, for getting all this stuff together. We're going to start off with one of the leaders that was previewed last week in Obi-Wan Kenobi, Courage Makes Confidence. This is our Command Heroism common leader, Force, Jedi, and Republic. Great traits. Action, exhaust the leader, and use your Force. Give an experience token to a unit without an experience on it. At 5, you get to flip into a 3/6. This is a common number 8 out of 264. I had to remember, it's been a minute. In Legends of the Force. And then flipping, we do flip into that 3/6. And on attack, no Force token required, you may give an experience token to another unit without an experience token on it. This is actually a very interesting leader to me. I think he's quite good, but it's not going to be something that's going to see a high level of competitive play because he doesn't work as well as someone like Rey, who does something very similar in terms of divvying out experience tokens. And of course, we are in the worst color for mid-range, which is Command, and this is a very mid-range deck. Him being a 3/6 on 5, I think is okay, because we've seen worse stats, but we've also seen better stats. It would have been nice if he was a 4/6 or a 3/7, but being a 3/6 at least means that he's not going to die to things like Force Choke or Takedown immediately. Front side, having to use the Force to be able to get that experience token isn't the best thing in the world, but at least it gives you an option to be able to use your Force token if you're generating it multiple times a turn or at least once per turn on something that is beneficial, because you're not always generating experience tokens with everything you do. So you get an early Force unit out, you attack with it, you use Obi-Wan's ability to give it an experience token, and then you can fly that train even forward on turns that you're not using the Force for something else. What else would you use it on? Well, right now, we don't know very much. There's a couple of different things that give you benefits based upon having it. We know that Savage Press spends it on deployed and when defeated, but we haven't seen too many big swing changes outside of Darth Sidious of spending the Force to defeat a bunch of things that would allow you to utilize this Force token for something else, except for a leader we'll talk about at the end. So right off the bat, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi, noticing here there's an eye missing. Whatever, it's okay. Work is hard, right? Databasing is very difficult. Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think, is going to be a fun, casual leader. I'm actually already thinking about swapping out my Obi-Wan Kenobi in my Twin Suns deck with this version, and then switching the base from a green base to a blue base, potentially Pow City, to give my Obi-Wan and Anakin that extra boost in survivability. I do wish that the leader's side was allowed to give himself an experience token, but you can only give it to other units. So you are going to have to worry about what has experience tokens in combination with Obi-Wan. And then if you do have something else that gives experience tokens, maybe target Obi-Wan first. So I think this is a very fun leader, but in terms of competitive leaders, I don't think he's going to be there. Next up, we have Plo Koon. I don't believe in chance. This is coming by way of Fleet Lieutenants. You can see with the little preview attribution right here. Link in the description to that video below. We have here a 6-cost Heroism Vigilance unit. Ground units, 6 power, 8 health, Force, Jedi, and Republic. While the Force is with you, this unit gains grit, so he gets +1 damage for each, +1 power for each damage on him. This is an uncommon, numbers 50 out of 264, an LOF, LOF. Plo Koon is an interesting design because competitively, there's no shot this gets used. You can potentially build the Force with your attacks, but you want to have the Force before he attacks to be able to do that. And if you're spending it on other things, he's not going to have the Force to be able to get the grit. He does have a big butt like Vigilance does. We've talked about it before since set 1. We're in set 5. We're coming up on set 5 now. Big butts for Vigilance. but in terms of what this unit is capable of, it can present a threat right off the bat, but by being able to be thrown back to your opponent's to your hand, excuse me, being damaged out of existence, being defeated, being exhausted down, there are so many ways to handle this Plo Koon that he's not going to be something that you're going to see often, if at all, in decks featuring the Force, featuring Jedi, featuring Republic characters in competitive circuits moving forward. With that said, though, in terms of draft and sealed, this is an excellent finisher in an environment where you're going to have lots of Force units, where you're going to have lots of abilities to use the Force and gain the Force, and there won't be as much removal in that specific section unless they put another big chunk removal piece in this set, which you know they're going to do, but the chances of that coming up potentially can be mid to low, right? So as a finisher in blue hero decks, Plo Koon can put on an absolute stunning victory for you by attacking into one unit one phase, and as long as it's not cleared that round, the next round, as long as you have the Force, boom. I know that's a lot of as long as's, but as draft and sealed has showcased to us, things that are nowhere near viable in competitive can be absolute bombs in limited formats. And because this is an uncommon, you're going to see it. And if you do see it, this is probably one of the cards you're going to want to use if you're in blue and heroism. Again, not competitively viable, but a decent enough card to be included in the set. Shout out to Norse Meat, favorite Jedi here. Another Plo Koon. Next up, we have Luthen Rail, Masquerading Antiquarian. Antiquarian. That was a hard word to say. Relevant to Andor right now, as that second season is being aired currently, and it is a fantastic show. Luthen here is a 4-cost Vigilance, 4-power, 5-health Rebel. On attack, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an item upgrade, reveal it, and draw it. Notice it says upgrade, not just item card. This is an uncommon, number 68 out of 264 in LOF. 4-drop, 4-5 that allows you to pull items at the top card of your deck. If you are running a lot of lightsabers in blue, this can help you, or other items that would potentially be upgrades attached to your characters. But much like characters like Mon Mothma or Omega, or there's one other character I can't remember, that just filter the top cards of your deck and put it into your hand, I still think those are good abilities, but they don't do enough, especially since Luthen's is on attack, not when deployed or when defeated. So if your opponent sends this back to your hand, or defeats it, or exhausts it, and you never get the attack off, you spent 4 for a 4/5, and at that point you should just be running Kanan Jarrus, because you get more keyword abilities than you would with Luthen Rail. But in terms of the limited environment, we do know there's going to be a ton of lightsabers per a stream that was previously covered. Luthen here could be generating a lot of advantage for you in those limited formats, so you can get those lightsabers or other item cards to your hand, item upgrades. So again, not a lot of competitive viability here, but he's a rebel, he's relevant to current Star Wars interests, and you know, Luthen's just a cool dude. Next up, we have the Scythe here, Intimidating Silhouettes. This is from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the ship used by the Grand Inquisitor. 4-cost Aggression Villainy, 3-power, 5-health, Imperial Vehicle Transport Inquisitor. We saw that there was going to be, I believe, Vehicle Inquisitor in a article that I'll link to below as a keyword trait combination, and here it is. The Scythe. On attack, you may give another friendly Inquisitor unit +2/+0 for this phase. This is a rare number 135 out of 264 in LOF. It being 3 power means that it's very abusable by the Grand Inquisitor himself. What you could potentially do is set up a turn where you are able to attack with the Scythe, give your Grand Inquisitor leader the bonus, use the Grand Inquisitor to attack, and then have the Scythe come back and be able to give one of your other Inquisitor units +2/+0, or potentially the Grand Inquisitor again if you needed to survive a clapback, whatever the case may be, and still be able to pump out that damage. I do hope we do see a couple of other Inquisitors. We have seen Third Sister, the leader card. She's not very good. She does benefit from the hidden mechanic and dishes it out to other units that do exist, but realistically, that's basically just going to be a draft chaff leader. Your Inquisitor deck is still probably going to be led by the Grand Inquisitor himself, because most of these are built on having 3 attack. However, Twin Sun's double Inquisitor leader list could be seriously interesting as a double red-blue deck, but that'll be another video for another day. I like the Scythe. It doesn't have the same amount of impact that it should the turn it comes out, but because if you are playing Grand Inquisitor, you have that ability to stand this, ready it, on the round it comes out, you can potentially give one of your other Inquisitors a bonus to its attack with using this Scythe. The sequencing is going to be important, that's why it's likely going to be staying in the casual tier or limited tier of viability, but it does still give the Inquisitor strategy some support. It does need to be better, but it's still not good enough. So, and sometimes better is as good as you can expect. Spectre players know that. Our last new card we're showcasing to you today is one of our first legendaries we get to see in Legends of the Force. This is Qui-Gon Jinn. The negotiations will be short. This is a 7-cost Cunning Heroism ground units, 7 power, 5 health, Force Jedi and Republic traits, ambush. When defeated, you may choose a non-leader ground unit. Its owner puts it on the top or bottom of the deck. This is number 200 out of 264 in LOF, a legendary, as we said. Qui-Gon Jinn got a leader, now he gets a buff unit. And this is kind of the inverse of the way that Darth Vader played from set 1. Whereas Vader was a 5/7 with ambush and added something to your field from the top 10 cards of your deck. Qui-Gon Jinn is a 7/5, ambushes and defeats something, and then if he's defeated, most likely when he's defeated, you get to choose a non-leader ground unit and send it back to that person's deck, and that unit's owner will choose top or bottom. You can wipe out one of your opponent's units with Qui-Gon Jinn's attack, and if he does die, which again he most likely will, because you should be targeting something that 7 power is going to be able to take out and remove the threat from your opponent's side of the board, essentially getting a 2-for-1 for 7, which is very good. Sending the unit to the basically the top card of your opponent's deck, which they're going to choose, is going to be something that's very important for you to be able to manage that ability to be able to do stuff. Now, you can mix this with something like Yoda or You're My Only Hope, where you can use Qui-Gon Jinn to put one of your own units to the top of your deck, and then either Yoda flip, defeat a unit based upon the cost of the card you just set back to the top, or You're My Only Hope it back into play with its resources if you're able to do different things like that. There's a lot of interesting utilities done for this, but I think Qui-Gon Jinn's main purpose is going to be pay 7, defeat something that has a lot of power with 7 or less health remaining, and if that power is 5 or higher, then you get to remove another one of your opponent's units from the board. This is a very good card that's going to see a lot of play, and if it does survive the attack, and because you did attack and you're most likely going to have a Force token base, your next action can be to use the Force with your Qui-Gon Jinn leader to return it back to your hand and put a non-villainy 6-cost unit from your hand into play, abusing that extra when played ability to be able to get a free unit into play, which is fantastic for this specific leader, which I still think right now, we've only seen 4 leaders, but there's not really going to be too much that's going to overtake the current meta that we've seen so far, and I don't think there's going to be too much better in this set that's going to be as good as Qui-Gon Jinn can be. I'm telling you right now, I told you when it was first previewed, I'm telling you again right now, and I'm going to sing it out to the galaxy itself. Somebody is going to break this deck, and it's going to make the game absolutely unbearable to play. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It technically is, but I also think it's going to take somebody with a very specific level of deck building skill and gameplay skill to showcase what this is capable of doing. The Cad Bane Colossus deck was a deck idea I had no idea was not even necessarily possible, but remotely viable. And we saw at the 10K Invitational, Boston Invitational event in Atlanta that it is a very viable deck, and there's a lot of people that are now copying that strategy because it is viable and quite good. And it took specific deck builders and game players to put that together to be like, hey, these pieces individually are not necessarily as strong, but putting them all together, the smuggle, the extra health from the Colossus, the removal from blue, the ability to ping units with Cad Bane, putting all of those pieces together made a very viable, very strong deck that a lot of people did not see coming and didn't necessarily know how to handle, and Qui-Gon Jinn is going to do the same thing. And Qui-Gon Jinn, the negotiations will be short, is going to be a large piece of that puzzle, I believe, because again, 2-for-1, or at least ambushing and defeating a unit and then flipping it back to your hand to do it on the next turn, while also getting benefit from your when playeds and your bigger units that you can put from 6 cost or less. So with all that together, we've seen some new cards. We're going to keep previewing new cards. I'm going to keep showcasing you the best cards that I think exist, or at least things that provide interesting gameplay. Luthen, Scythe, Plo, not necessarily the best cards, but things that you probably should know about going into limited or casual formats like Twin Suns, or even Padawan. I don't think the scythe can be used in Padawan, no, because it's a rare, but you know, whatever. You guys know what casual formats are. What I want to see from this set are banger characters doing banger things in a situation where it allows players to have a lot of fun with the cards moving forward. The first 2 weeks of this set's release are going to be the craziest set release in the history of the game since set 1. And the reason why is because it's going to be a furious testing position when it comes to getting ready for the Galactic Championship. It's still, to me, a very suspect choice to have a set release 2 weeks before the World Championship for Star Wars Unlimited, but it is the world we live in, and it's the world we have to deal with things. Depending on what we see moving forward, I might try to do that Qui-Gon Jinn deck going into the Galactic Championship. I'm not playing in the main event, but I'll be playing in side events, maybe even a sector qualifier that happens during that weekend, but it's most likely going to be side events because I want that prize wall, baby! But moving forward from there, PQs and store showdowns, they're going to have the knowledge of the format from the Galactic Championship, and that's going to have to change a lot of things moving forward. So that 2-week testing period is going to be super important, but then afterwards, I want to be able to just play fun Star Wars cards. That's ultimately my goal with Star Wars Unlimited. There's a lot of focus on competitive. I know I perpetuate that by pretty much only doing competitive coverage when it comes to what cards are viable, but that's also what happens to be the most important thing to the community as well. If more people watched casual content, if more people asked for casual content, if more people discussed casual content, you would see more casual content on YouTube, on Twitch, discussed on subreddits, discussed in Discords. But because everybody's like, how does this work for me in competitive? How do I win the game, since that's the only thing that matters when it comes to playing the game? That's what ends up happening with these types of things. When the Galactic Championship is done, I'm actually going to do a breakdown of some videos that I've put out over the last few months and how they pertain to what has done well and what has not done well. And you've seen not necessarily a format change of what I've done, but a couple of different things that I'm experimenting with. You may have already noticed what I'm doing and how I'm going to present that data once it comes down to the Galactic Championship afterwards. We'll have my Galactic Championship recap, of course, because I'm going to bring my recording equipment and then have some fun with the people that are out there. Hopefully we get to do some cool things. Hopefully the Galactic Championship is super fun. But we do have a regional qualifier coming up at the end of this month that I'll be playing in. I don't know that I'll be doing well, but I'll definitely be playing in it. And it should be interesting going forward. But beyond all of this, I just want to have fun with Star Wars cards, with cool things. Obi-Wan Kenobi is such a great example of something that it should be super fun to play, but is going to end up being unplayable because everybody's like, nope, got to bring that competitive haymaker, nuke. You know, I understand that some of that is just engendering what you want to see in a local environment, but all the local environments that at least are around me are all, you know, sweaty, hyper-competitive groups, and it's not why I play card games. It can be why I play certain card games, but this is not that card game that I want to play that with. Enough of my personal-ish. We got things we got to do. We got things we got to take care of. More Force users. I want Cal Kestis. Give me that Cal Kestis leader. We've seen art from the set itself, and there's some cool stuff in here, including a brand new Rey image, which looks like it could potentially be a showcase. I hope if it's another leader. Not that the last Rey leader was bad. She was quite good, as evident by Rey Target Town being a top meta deck when Jango's not in there. I hope that she's a little bit more playable than the current Rey is and focused more on actually doing stuff herself. But we have the Sith Temple on Malachor, which is a great piece of art. Look at how amazing this is. Lots of information here. Here's that Vehicle Inquisitor thing. Jedi Wookiee, but we do have a lot of information in this. We've also got Avar Chris. Shout out to users on both Twitter and Blue Sky for letting me know who this is. I knew this was a High Republic Jedi, so we do have High Republic representation in Star Wars Unlimited with Legends of the Force, and the vectors in the back, but I didn't remember exactly who this specifically was. I've only read the first book of the High Republic. I need to keep reading. But as we continue down this article, we've got Second Sister, which is going to be another great Inquisitor edition. We have everybody's least favorite special edition enhancement, which is adding Hayden to the group, which, you know, he deserves. He did good in episodes 2 and 3, and also in Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. So I'm happy with this. But realistically, the thing that comes down to it is that I want Avar Chris to do cool stuff. I want Second Sister to do cool stuff. I want the Temple of Malachor to be super relevant when it comes to doing things. Because Star Wars is about the characters, the locations, the ships, and the units. It's not about the numbers, the colors, and the shapes of the cards. And when we add more Star Wars stuff into the game and make it less about the specifics of what everything does and more about how fun it is to do. That's where I want to be in Star Wars Unlimited, and that's something that I think the developers really need to push hard forward with. That's it. That's the piece. More fun with who the characters are and less worrying about what the characters do, right? In terms of its specifics, efficiency, and competitive advantage, right? There's always going to be competitions in games. Even Sorcery, the most casual game in existence, has a competitive circuit, but that game seems to have balanced out its casual community very well, and there are quite a few more people who go to stores and play casually than there are people who run or enter into these competitive circuits. So I know people like competition. I know Star Wars Cards invites competition, but let's make that break. Let's make that break once the competitive seasons are over to play casual, fun stuff and actually show up to play fun, casual stuff. So I've run my mouth far too long. This video is longer than I wanted it to be, but we are here. Legends of the Force preview season is in full swing. We should have some fun stuff coming out here over the next 2 months and have that set ready to go for testing for the Galactic Championship. Let me know what you think of these cards in the description, in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Force user you think is going to be in this set, who you hope to see, who you want to see, who you expect to see, which might not all be the same thing, although if it is, congratulations. Like this video, comment down below of all the things I talked about, subscribe to the Star Wars Unlimited channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. I'm in for a full Carbonite case if I can get it, so we'll see how that does. We'll do the box opening for that basically the second I possibly can, out in July. I sold a bunch of cards yesterday at SCG Con, which happened in Minnesota over this last weekend, and I got lots of money set up ready to go for buying Star Wars Unlimited cards, because I know I'm going to need those singles after I crack open all my specialty stuff. But in the next couple of videos, we'll talk about other things we haven't talked about yet so far. But as it stands, thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. That's all I've got. I'll see you in the next one, and I will see you in the stars.